Greetings, unsettled souls. Welcome to the Correct Views. As Sam I be Gangi doing political commentary for the Media Speaks. You might know me from the Conservative Daily Post, Teddy Stick Blasting News. I write for all of them. Also, if you want to hear my 9/11 commentary, go to the Facebook page. I'm trying to get all of the people from YouTube onto Facebook, all of the people from Facebook onto YouTube, and I know they're deplatforming people together, but this is important, and I need to give a shout out to my listeners, everyone who watches, whether you're finding this live or most people find it much later. It's very, very important that you do this. You want to keep the show going, make sure you're sharing it, because shows like mine that tell the truth, and don't give me this fake news BS, because I give you the sources for every single bit of information that I give. Shows that tell the truth are being blacklisted, partially because they don't want conservative voices being heard, and partially because they want to keep the giant monopolies, the ABC networks, if you will, the alphabet networks. They want to keep them, the money coming in for them. So they're hurting a lot of the little guy. And the only way you can really help people like me is to share the video, which is monumentally important. And of course, to donate, which you can do at the Correct Views at hotmail.com. You can donate through PayPal. And if there's any ambiguity here as to what I'm talking about with the conservatives and libertarians such as myself being silenced, then I'm going to go to screen share if you're on YouTube. Those of you on Facebook, I can't do anything about it. Fact cam behind me, the TV died. Information liberation, though it is the source, you can very easily look it up. A snapshot of YouTube's new search algorithm. With YouTube's new search algorithm, if you search the exact title of Ann Coulter's recent appearance on C-SPAN, you have to scroll through 22 unrelated results from establishment organizations before you can find it. And as you can see there on YouTube, it's a very long, very, very long list. This is the new normal on YouTube. For all news-related results, the exact same search on Google Videos, which has not been given the same show-only trusted sources treatment, shows the video as the #1 result, followed by 3 related videos. What does this mean? It means that, let's say you try to search a show from a libertarian based on exactly what the show is called. People, music lovers, of course, do it every day. If you do that, you find that the search that you're looking for is way at the bottom. And a lot of people will either go to one of the major networks, which are being promoted, to hear the spin on the story or to hear somebody talking about the story. But they won't have an opportunity to actually see the story in the conservative or libertarians' own words or in their own writings, because they are being hidden and kept from people. And that's a huge problem, because it's how networking is done. It's how the very freedom of the press is preserved. I love how the liberals love to freak out on Donald Trump when he gets mad at people who print fake news and lies about him, which is slander. And yet when people like me are out here telling the truth, we get called fake news, and we're not even allowed to be shared, or not even allowed, I should say, to be promoted and to fairly show up in the screenshots, in the suggestions, and in search box. And if you think it's imaginary, maybe you think YouTube and Facebook should be allowed to do it because they're a private company. They are the new public square, so you need to be careful saying that, because it's a very slippery slope, to say the least. Google has turned YouTube search from a tool giving you access to millions of independent YouTubers to a censored, walled garden, which gives you search results from a tiny cadre of establishment media outlets. YouTube can now be more accurately described as TheYtube, Liberation Nation wrote, as it effectively censored 99.9% of channels for the first 20 search results of news-related topics. Even if you're not even conservative or a libertarian, even if you are somebody who is whatever, don't you see that this is something happening from people who are much bigger than your political whim at this time? If they can do it to libertarians, if they can do it to Trump supporters, if if they can do it to people like that now, then how is it you think that further down the line your favorite politician isn't going to have the same thing happen when the media accurately reports on him or her? That's the road we're going in, friends. And I hope that's understood. I hope I've made that very clear because it's a very real danger. Friends, this is let me Yahoo. This site gets more and more leftist by the day, but it's pretty consistent in terms of keeping relevant news up front and rather quickly. Trump tweets thank you to Kim Jung-un after North Korean military parade. Now, this here is both good and bad. I'm glad they're not hurling insults at each other anymore. Maybe a friendly tweet is better than a nuclear missile. I know people are commenting here on Facebook, but my computer's not letting me open it. But it's more important than that. Hello, Christian. It's more important than that, and I'll tell you how. There's some ambiguity as to whether or not North Korea has actually shut down its nuclear program. There is some intelligence, I should say, which says that North Korea has not done so, that they have continued along their path of nuclear development, nuclear bomb making, whatever you want to call it. Now, you have to understand, if you know a little bit about nuclear technology, you don't just hit a magic button and then suddenly, by some great miracle, it's shut down. It takes a long time to shut down a nuclear power plant and a nuclear bomb making facility or anything that's got fusion, fission, that kind of thing going on. However, what's being seen is that they like to move things. Like, let's say that they'll cover, this is a harmless vehicle and this is a bomb. They'll cover them both up with something so that you can't see what they are. And then, of course, they will transport them. And they keep things moving back and forth out of the plant in order to confuse satellite intelligence. Very common thing for nations to do. Why would North Korea be doing that if they're honoring the deal that they achieved with Mr. Trump? However, the deal isn't done yet. And like Trump has said, we don't know which way this is going to go. We hope for the best, obviously. Well, with that in mind, President Trump is said to have sent thanks to North Korean leader Kim Jung-un on Sunday after the country made changes to its military parade in Pyongyang. Now, my former partner on this show here, her and I used to have a great deal of fun watching North Korean videos. She was a huge fan. And you can't overstate how amazing it is for North Korea to not have an anti-US stance in their parade. It's not something minor like it might be here. It's not just a token. It is a major identity form of who they are. And the fact that they've pulled away from this is either a sign, originally from the Huffington Post here, that they're hiding what they're doing in order to stab us in the back later, or that they are making genuine changes to the way they're conducting themselves as it relates on the world stage to America. North Korea celebrated its 70th anniversary on Sunday with a show of its military strength, but strayed from the traditional display of the country's intercontinental missiles. The parade instead features floats and flowers, as Kim chose to focus in a different directions. Friends, that's wonderful news. That's pure bliss news, because they have been indoctrinated since birth to believe the most dreadfully inaccurate things about America. And it's been used to foster a hatred. And if you don't think that matters, do remember what the Hitler Youth did to an entire generation who honestly thought in some instances that they were doing people favors when they killed innocent Jews or innocent children because they weren't equal people. That's the kind of mindset that was being fostered in North Korea. Thankfully, it looks like that's going the way of the dodo bird. North Korea celebrated, and Trump met with Kim, of course, for the denuclearization summit in Singapore in June, and said it's a very big and positive statement from North Korea. Thank you to Chairman Kim. We will both prove everyone wrong, and this is nothing like good dialogue. There is nothing like good dialogue from two people that like each other. Much better than before I took office. It's 2 weeks after Trump announced that he was canceling the Secretary of State Pompeo's diplomatic visit to North Korea. Then again, it was he who first went and started talking when the two sides decided to do something other than talk about killing each other. So it's not as if he's been pulled away from it in total. Friends, you're listening to The Correct Views. Once again, if you want to donate, you can help me out a lot by donating at thecorrectviews@hotmail.com through PayPal. Check this out, friends. Rand Paul, of course, we all know he was attacked by his neighbor. His lungs or ribs or whatever were causing him so much agony that it hurt for the man to simply breathe in and out. And he's been a hero, of course, to many of us who are libertarians. Not to the level that his father was, no, but we certainly like him. Well, Rand Paul seems to be having the kind of year that I've had. Man allegedly threatens to chop up Rand Paul and his family with an axe. Courier Journal out of Louisville. A man is accused of threatening to chop up U.S. Senator Rand Paul and his family. The man has been arrested. He allegedly called in the threats to Paul's Bowling Green office. Paul mentioned the attack publicly at an event in Litchfield, Kentucky on Monday. You know, you have to wonder what goes through people's mind. And I've called Rand Paul's office as just a daily occurrence of my job as a writer for a number of outlets, Conservative Daily Post, Teddy Stick. I've called the outlet, extremely nice people there. But that notwithstanding, even if you hated Mr. Paul, and you were in that case who wanted to kill somebody, exactly how do you think this is going to play out? Oh, shucks. We're not going to do anything to you. Really? Is that what you? How does somebody even reach this level of stupidity? Speaking of stupidity, you're going to love the last story coming up. We're a few away from it, though. In the meantime, we have to talk about something other than politics, or everybody will complain. Okay, I've got something other than politics. What about the possibility that there's alien life trying to communicate with us? Now, I'm not one of those nutcases that dwell on this all the time. I'm not. However, I am somebody who thinks that we're not alone in the universe, but I say that with a bit of a caveat here. I'm a firm believer that when the quote-unquote aliens come, there's a really good chance it's going to be the deep state, the UN, or other people that wish to control us or hurt us in a certain direction. And those aliens are going to suddenly push us all in the direction that is politically correct at that given moment. That's a huge fear of mine. As soon as I hear about aliens, I'm not going to immediately think that we found them. It's just a little too convenient sometimes. That said, if our understanding of the universe is correct, then it would be absolute folly to think that there isn't something else out there. So with that in mind, without thinking that I'm suddenly believing every story about little green men, not dispelling them either perhaps, listen to this. Phone home. According to the Sun, dozens of mysterious radio bursts from outer space are detected by alien hunting artificial intelligence. I thought this was quite interesting. The Breakthrough Listen program found 72 new fast radio bursts, mysterious space signals coming from a galaxy 3 billion light years away. Very long phone home. The space scientists have been hunting for mysterious alien signals for years, but it's difficult to find anything meaningful. Space is huge. It's a bit of an understatement, but fair enough. The big problem isn't actually collecting the data, but it's trolling through it. That's why scientists enlisted artificial intelligence and machine learning tech to hunt for these signals within existing data caches. In other words, information that's already been gathered. The robots can work much quicker than humans, of course. This latest discovery came after AI dug through 400 terabytes. That's about how big Passing Time's new CD is to mix. 400 terabytes of data collected in August last year. A single terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes or 1,000,000 megabytes, or an hour-long BBC iPlayer program that takes 160 megabytes of space, in case you're wondering what the English equivalent is, I guess. Scientists have named the source of the newly discovered signals way outside the Milky Way galaxy as repeater, FRB 121102. FRBs are single bright pulses of radio emission from extremely distant galaxies, which last just milliseconds. In other words, it appears that they are actually set Um, they're detected as huge spikes of energy by a change in strength over time. They are important simply because they are so baffling to experts. They could be rapidly rotating neutron stars, black holes, and they could be alien life. The source of FRBs are very much a mystery. So we don't have anything carved in stone here yet, but we do have some interesting facts. 72 additional bursts were not detected originally, but Zhang's team used some of the same techniques that technology companies use to optimize search results and classify images. Just as the patterns from pulsars helped astronomers understand extreme physical conditions in such objects, the new measurements of FRBs will help figure out what power these enigmatic sources. So basically, if ET is phoning home, we're not exactly sure how to read him or her doing it yet, but we may be onto something. And that's if alien life even chooses to try to communicate with us in ways like that. They would have to have at least some kind of understanding about who we are and how we understand things in order for that to be said. Unless there are a number of other intelligences which have also communicated in the same way. We don't know what it is that we could be, communicating with, if there's anything even out there. Although this here is a little more lighthearted. This came from a Yahoo News as well. My next to last story. Do let me know how you like this show. Astronaut drops in on Kraftwerk gig, plays duet from space. This is great because Kraftwerk, of course, one of the most important bands in the last, I would say, 50 years, easily. The techno, disco, industrial, trap, dubstep, EDM, you name it. This comes directly from Kraftwerk. So they deserve a little bit of space technology kudos, I would say, if anyone does. I hate when Yahoo refreshes. But yeah, if ever an electronic band deserved it, it would be them. Listen to this. Berlin. Kraftwerk fans were used to hearing otherworldly tunes, but the German electronic music pioneers took it another level at a gig in Stuttgart. Video posted Saturday by the European Space Agency shows German astronaut Alexander Gerst dropping in for a live performance from the International Space Station. Using a tablet computer with a virtual synthesizer, Gerst played a duet from Kraftwerk's 1978 song Space Lab with the band Friday night. Now, I don't know how they got rid of the lag that would be there, but they somehow did. He's not the first musician, of course, to do it. Chris Hadfield recorded a cover of David Bowie's Space Odyssey. We covered that. I think it's interesting. I'm very happy that it happened for them because they've been a band that's really given a lot to the genre. And friends, that brings us to, what is it I hear? I hear it in the distance. The dumbdee of the day. You are an idiot. All right, now if you're looking for the Dunce Cap of the Month show, I'm a little behind because everything short of hell has been happening to me. But I will be doing it this weekend, most likely. The Dunce Cap of the Month is, of course, due. It was going to be this show, but things don't always work the way you want them to. But I'll tell you what does work rather well, the dumbdee of the day. Listen to this. Woman caned in Malaysia for attempting to have lesbian sex. Now, let me ask you a question. How do you attempt? Do you need instructions to have lesbian sex? I've been in experiences where I have gotten to enjoy, ladies at their finest. I've never seen any of them whipping out an instruction manual. I didn't know that it was hard. Dumbdee of the day, friends. Although I am very sad to see that she was caned. Each person should be allowed to make their own decisions. Sexuality is a matter between a person and God. But anyway, listen to this. The Guardian reports that 2 women found guilty of attempting to have sex have been caned in Malaysia's conservative northeastern state of Terengganu in the first punishment of its kind. It beats being thrown from a building, which is what ISIS unfortunately does. But I digress. It could be that they were trying to, as then they were going to prior to when they got busted. I mean, that could be what it means. It's very hard to say. The Guardian here is a bit ambiguous. But stay with me. The two women aged 22 and 32 were caned 6 times each in the Terengganu Sharia High Court just after 10 a.m. after the sentence was read out. Now, that's where the more prudent minds among us, the more thoughtful minds, understand that the religion of peace, when it comes to Sharia law, becomes the religion of pieces. They hurt, harm, and restrict people for the good of what they think Allah wants. The caning was carried out in the courtroom and was witnessed by up to 100 people. They were humiliated in public, is what that means. While women in Malaysia have often been caned for sexual offenses in the past, such as adultery, rights activists say that it's the first time that two women have been caned for attempting to have sex. The punishment was shocking and it was a spectacle, said Theliga Sulaperek, an activist for Malaysian rights groups. In America, of course, they would have been given a gold medal, and if you cheat on your husband, you might end up being told that you are the most wonderful person of all time. Glenn Holcomb knows what I mean. Hello, John. But having said that, no, I mean, obviously they didn't deserve it. Where are the women's rights groups complaining about this? Do you know why they're not? Because women's rights groups are largely leftist, and Islam is a protected class. So they don't dare come out and speak against their protected class, because then they may sound, of course, racist or Islamophobic. You know what? What matters here is that you get the correct views. And you did. Thank you for listening, friends. If you want to donate, you can do so at thecorrectviews@hotmail.com. All the money you give to me goes towards a better show. You can do it through PayPal. I'm going to jump off here. I'm going to wash my hair, which is the reason for the hat. And then I'm going to go and get some food, which I can't afford at a restaurant that I shouldn't be going to by myself. If you wish to join me, leave a message in Facebook. I'll see that we eat together and talk politics together and probably argue. Not really. Have a good night. God bless. And if I can find my on button. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hitting subscribe and hitting share.